Hello. What you need to know about this story before I start is that there's magic in moonlight. I think you know this already. Well, there's magic in moonlight and none know it better than the fishermen along the coast of Scotland. For they live with a magical people, the seal people, or Selkies. And the best time to see a Selkie is out in the moonlight. For Selkies, they swim in the sea as seals, and when the moon is shining bright and creates a path across the water to the shore, well then you'll see a Selkie come out of the sea, slip out of the sealskin, and take human form so that he can dance in the moonlight. So the best time to see a Selkie is when the moon is full. And that's what Duncan would do, for Duncan was a fisherman who lived in the fishing villages in Scotland. And above all else he wanted to see a Selkie. Well, one moonlit night, when the moon was brighter than it had ever been before, Duncan walked the beach. And oh, the path the moon made across the water was so inviting that Duncan wanted to get in the water and follow it himself. But he followed on the shore, right to where that path ended in the cove. Well, Duncan, he crept close to that cove. It was lined with rocks, so he couldn't really see it till he was close. But as he grew closer, he heard music and laughter. So when Duncan, he crept quietly up to the rocks and he peeked around. There were 12 Selkie maidens, slid out of the skin, were dancing in the moonlight in human form, their sealskins folded neatly and near the rocks close to Duncan. But Duncan, he picked up one of those sealskins, and he took it home and hid it. For Duncan knew the stories of Selkies, that a Selkie could not return to the sea without his or her sealskin. Well, the next morning, Duncan walked down to the cove, and instead of 12 maidens, there remained only one. She was sitting sad and lonely, and Duncan walked up and asked her her name. "My name is Mara, and I can't go home." "Well, Mara," says Duncan, "why don't you come with me? I've a lovely house on the bluff above the sea." And so Mara went home with Duncan. And after a bit, they liked one another, so they married. Well, Mara was content. She decorated the home with treasures from the sea. She'd bring up a shell one day, a bit of sweet seaweed the next. And in all kinds of weather, Mara would fling the windows wide so that she could smell the lovely salt air of the sea. For Mara missed her home. As time passed, Duncan and Mara had children. 7 in all they had. And when each babe was 6 months old, Mara took the babe down to the sea without telling Duncan, and would unwrap the blanket and put the babe's little foot into the water. With 6 of her children, they cried from the cold, and Mara would comfort them and carry them home. But with her 7th child, Alexander by name he was, with Alexander, when Mara took him at 6 months old down to the sea and unwrapped his foot and put it in the water, Alexander, he laughed with glee. And Mara, she smiled, for she knew that Alexander was more Selkie than human. Well, as time went by, Mara grew sad, for she missed her home in the sea. And of an evening she'd ask Duncan. She said, Duncan, Duncan, please give me back what's mine. I know you took it, Duncan. Please, please, I miss my home and I want to return. Well, Duncan, he'd listen and fold his arms. No, Mara, I can't give it back to ye. No, for if I do, you'll return to the sea, and I love you too much to lose you. By the time Alexander was 7, he'd lie awake at night hearing his parents fight. He didn't know what his father had taken of his mother's. He only knew that his mother missed it and wanted it so. But Duncan, he was a curious child, and he decided to look for whatever his mother was missing. And he thought he was sure to know it if he saw it. Well, one day, Duncan went up to his grandfather's croft in the hills. And there, in the attic, back in a corner, he saw an oilcloth wrapped package. He reached for it and pulled it out. And when he unwrapped it, there was a sealskin. When he touched it, the fur was soft as silk. And Alexander knew this belonged to his mother. So Alexander, he wrapped the package up and carried it with him back down to his home. But instead of taking it to the house, he hid it on the shore. Next to a rock he hid it. And then he went home, and he called to his mother when she was alone. Mother, Mother, I found something of yours. Mother, come with me and I'll show you. Well, Mara, she put down her cooking and turned and followed her son down the path to the shore. And there it was, a package that Alexander handed her. And when she unwrapped that oilcloth, oh, my sealskin, my sealskin, oh, Alexander, thank you. But, Alexander, you know, don't you? You know, son, I'm a Selkie, and I must now return to the sea. What you might not know is that you're a Selkie too. Would you come with me to my home in the sea? Alexander, he looked up at his mother. He looked at his home on the bluff, and he looked out to sea. "Aye, mother, I think I will come with you." "Good, good son. Stay here and wait for me while I go and say goodbye to your brothers and sisters." And Mara climbed the path to her house on the bluff, called her children around, and she told them she was a Selkie and must return to the sea. She said that she loved them and would always be close, and if ever they had need, they only need come to the shore and call her name, and she would come to them. And with that Mara turned, walked down the path to the shore, slid into her skin, took Alexander on her back, and glided into the sea. At first you could see a seal with a boy on her back, and then the seal dove into the waves, and up came the seal's head, and a seal pup's head too. And then those two seals, they looked up to the house on the bluff, and dove into the waves and were seen no more. But after that time, when the fish they weren't biting for any other fisherman, Duncan need only go down to the shore, and there'd be a passel of fish waiting for him, and 2 seals watching from out in the surf. And as for the children, they knew on their birthdays the first thing they'd do would run down to the shore, for they knew there'd be a gift waiting, and sure enough, they'd find a treasure, a glass ball, a gold coin, and 2 seals watching from out in the surf. Now that's the story I have to tell of the Selkie, except for this. Now you know, if you want to see a Selkie, you go out on a moonlit night, and you watch the shore, and you watch for seals coming up on the land. Watch closely to see if they shed their skins and turn into humans. For if they do, you'll have seen a Selkie out in the moonlight. Thank you.